Please, just don't say it. As they pulled into the estate, they saw a crowd gathered around the entrance to Nelson Mandela House. There were cameras, a small satellite van, and a man in a sharp suit holding a microphone. "Oh, no," Dell groaned, trying to duck behind the dashboard. "It's the press. They found us." "They don't look like the tabloid press, Dell," Rodney noted, squinting. "That guy, he looks like he's from the BBC News." They had no choice but to stop. As soon as the van door creaked open, the reporter swarmed. "Mr. Trotter, Derek, is it true?" the reporter shouted, thrusting the microphone into the van. "Is it true that you've been offered a position as a national ambassador for the RSPCA?" Dell blinked, his brain working at lightning speed. "A what?" "The public response to your donation has been overwhelming. Over £2 million has been raised in the last 6 hours by people inspired by your story. They're calling it the Trotter Effect." Dell looked at Rodney. Rodney looked at Dell. "2 million," Dell whispered, a slow, predatory grin beginning to spread across his face. "The Prime Minister has even mentioned you in a tweet. He called you the true heart of the British working class." Dell stepped out of the van, adjusting his lapels and smoothing his hair. He looked at the cameras, his eyes sparkling with a newfound, glorious opportunity. The bankruptcy, the inland revenue, the leaky roof. It all faded away, replaced by the beautiful, shimmering light of a new hustle. "Well," Dell said, adopting his most humble, statesmanlike tone, "I've always said that wealth is a responsibility. It's not about the money, is it? It's about the soul. And if my little gesture has inspired the nation, well, then Derek Trotter is a happy man. Will you be accepting the ambassadorship?" the reporter asked. "I'll have to consult with my managing director, of course," Dell said, gesturing to a horrified Rodney. "But I think we can find room in our busy schedule to help the little ones. After all, I've always been a bit of a cat man myself." As the cameras flashed and the questions poured in, Dell leaned over to Rodney and whispered out of the corner of his mouth, "2 million, Rotters. Think of the commission on the merchandise. This time next year, we really will be millionaires." Rodney looked at the crowd, then at his brother, then at the sky. He knew it was going to be a very, very long year. The Peckham Phoenix, a novelization of the Trotter Chronicles. Chapter 1, The Ghost of Millions Past. The rain in Peckham didn't fall. It surrendered. It was a gray, miserable drizzle that clung to the concrete skin of Nelson Mandela House like a damp shroud. Inside the familiar, slightly cramped confines of the Trotter flat, the air smelled of stale cigars, cheap air freshener, and the lingering scent of Uncle Albert's legendary and lethal Navy stew. Derek Delboy Trotter sat on the edge of his velvet-covered sofa, adjusted his gold rings, and looked at the man sitting across from him. The man's name was Justin Asleek, professional type with a digital recorder and a look of thinly veiled pity. So Justin began, his voice smooth as silk. I've got the basics, the watch, the auction, the £6.5 million. But I want the real story. Derek, your raison d'etre, as they say. Those eyes lit up at the French were what he assumed was French. Raison d'etre. Oh, absolutely, Justin. Laboratory Garney. As the locals say, it means it is what it is, doesn't it? Beside him, Rodney Trotter, the younger, taller, and infinitely more anxious brother, let out a long, suffering sigh. Rodney's knees were bouncing. He looked like a man who expected a trapdoor to open beneath him at any moment. Don't mind him, Dell said, waving a hand toward Rodney. He's a bit touchy. Personal matters. Bedroom hiccups. You know how it is when the spark becomes a bit of a damp squib. Dell, Rodney hissed, his face flushing a deep crimson. I told you that in confidence. And I'm not here to talk about my private life with Cassandra. I'm here because I have to be. Of course, Dell soothed, though his eyes were already drifting back to the past. You want to know how we became successful. Justin, it was destiny. We were ordinary people, living ordinary lives, until we found it, a piece of history, an antique watch that changed everything. We thought about giving it to the British Museum, you know, for the nation. But then we thought the nation's got enough stuff, so we flogged it. The memory of the auction room still hung in the air like a golden haze. £6.5 million. It was the kind of money that didn't just change lives, it rewrote them. For a few years, the Trotters weren't just traders, they were royalty. They had divvied the dosh. Made sure Uncle Albert had a nice little drink, which in Albert's case meant enough cognac to preserve a whale, and set their sights on the horizon. But then, Doe's voice dropped an octave. We met the stockbroker. Chapter 2. The Tropical Storm. The downfall didn't happen in a boardroom in London. It happened in the humid, feverish markets of Central America. Dell, fueled by his eternal optimism and a steady diet of business lunches that usually involved more gin than geography, had invested the Trotter birthright into a venture that promised a return the likes of which the world had never seen. It was vibrant, Dell explained to Justin, his hands sketching patterns in the air. A Central American miracle. Everyone was pouring money in. We were making more money than the Royal Mint. We were flying helicopters to Nice just to pick up magazines. We were water skiing while the world turned. But the miracle was a mirage. While the Trotters, Dell and Raquel, Rodney and Cassandra, and young Damien were living the high life in Barbados, the political and economic foundations of their investment were rotting. We took the whole family, Dell recalled, a bittersweet smile touching his lips. Even little Damien. He was a natural. Mind you, He did once weed in the swimming pool from